I made the mistake of going on Instagram again and asking everybody what they would like to see out of my YouTube channel, and pretty much everybody said trumpet techniques. Now, as I'm sure some of you are aware, I play trumpet. I know this channel is kind of a bit of an amalgamation of everything, but yeah, I play trumpet. I am a professional trumpet player. It is what I do. It is my main job. And so I asked people what they would like to see more of on this channel, and a lot of you said trumpet things, which is kind of fair enough given that I play trumpet. And then I gave you all a choice of what trumpet related things would you like, and most people said technique based things, but I decided that I would do that and also various other things. But I would like to make it clear that this is not necessarily going to be an educational channel. I'm gonna share cool things, but there are plenty of people who are gonna have a lot more sort of insight and a lot more thorough explanations of a lot of the stuff that I'm gonna talk about. But I'm just gonna sit here and list 5 cool trumpet techniques that you should know about.
Number 1. Split tones.
This is a really fun technique, and a lot of times you'll find it in a lot of the contemporary stuff that's being written now and has been written in the last few years. It's a really cool way of getting some really interesting sort of grainy, almost like electronic distortion on sounds. And basically what's happening is you are forcing the lips to go between 2 notes of the harmonic series. So you're basically shutting everything down. You're causing like several points of vibration on your lips. You're not getting a nice pure sound. And basically you're getting 2 notes for the price of 1, pretty much. And sometimes if you close it down even more, you can get even more notes. It's all very exciting. So you can get a kind of clear split tone, like this. Or you can get a more grainy split tone, like this. So for those of you who don't know, the harmonic series is basically what most instruments operate by. It is the naturally occurring series of harmonics that you find within the resonance of an instrument. Now with the trumpet and with most instruments, the lower notes, you're going to have a bigger gap between each of the harmonic series. And as you go higher up, the gap gets shorter and shorter and shorter. Which means for split tones, the higher you get, the more sort of interference you get. So for example, a lower split tone like this, it's going to sound different from a higher split tone like this. Now I think I might do a bit of a longer video about this at some point because it's a very cool technique and you can kind of go into depth about it and really sort of experiment with it and experiment with the level of sort of closing down and opening up and that kind of stuff. But 2 people I would recommend you check out are Marco Blau and Nathan Plant, because they have both done really cool videos about this technique and others. So I will pop links in the description. You can find their videos. They look like this.
Number 2. Multiphonics.
This is another favourite technique of mine because it combines 2 of my favourite things, singing and trumpet. Now for a lot of musicians, especially woodwind players, multiphonics doesn't necessarily mean the same thing. Multiphonics can mean for them harmonics, overtones, that kind of thing. But for brass players, if they're talking about multiphonics, they're usually talking about singing at the same time as playing. Now this is a really interesting technique because it really depends on the person. I have played pieces that have been written for a man's voice, and I found it very difficult to play a note and sing down there at the same time. And vice versa, I've encountered pieces where it's been written for a higher female voice, and if, for example, there's a man playing it or someone with a lower voice, they find it quite difficult. So it's actually quite a personalised technique, which I think makes it really fun. But you can do all sorts of things. You can have the voice droning and the trumpet playing something either above or below. You can have the trumpet droning, same thing with the voice, singing either above or below. Or you can change both the vocal notes and the trumpet notes at the same time. Now, something I really like playing around with Multiphonics is if you sing a note that's very, very close to the note that you're playing, you get the beatings of the tuning, basically. You get the beatings of the frequencies against each other. So you can really play around with that and you can really hear it. And also with Multiphonics, if you want to make the voice sound a little bit louder, bung a mute in the trumpet. That tends to work.
Number 3. Flutter tongue, growl, doodle tongue.
So I've sort of lumped all these 3 techniques in together because they all kind of get a similar effect. So flutter tonguing is basically rolling your R's down the trumpet. So like that, but down the trumpet, which sounds like this. Now this can be really effective for quite an aggressive sound. A lot of the time you'll find it in pieces where you're playing loudly, but it can also work quietly. Now for those people who can't roll their R's, they tend to do what's known as a growl, which is basically in the back of the throat, so rather than slightly different timbre, a little bit faster, slightly less aggressive. And the third of this little group is doodle tonguing. Now, for most wind instruments, double tonguing is da-ga-da-ga-da or taka-taka-taka-taka-ta, which basically means you can tongue really, really fast. And doodle tonguing is like that, but softer. So instead of da-ga-da-ga-da, you're going da-da-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, hence doodle. Now, some people find this easier than others, but it can be a very, very cool technique. It kind of has a weird sort of bubbling effect to especially long notes. And if you then combine it and layer it with other techniques, you can get a really cool effect. Now, this group of sort of 3 techniques, really effective, works well on kind of both short and long notes, but I think most people tend to use them on slightly longer notes to give them a bit of texture. Now that's that group of 3, which I've counted as 1 because turns out I like lots of techniques.
Number 4. Half valve.
Now half valve is exactly what it sounds like. We have valves, we put them down halfway. We can put 1 down, we can put 2 down, we can put 3 down, we can put a combination. It's all very exciting. But it can sound like a sad duck. It can sound like a horse. It can sound like an elephant if you really try. Or a race car. And it also means that we can do things like a glissandi. Now basically half valves, the only thing you're really doing differently is putting the valves down, so you can layer that up with any of the other techniques and get some, again, really cool effects.
Number 5. Slap tongue.
This is a fun technique for like short, abrupt effects and sounds like this. You can sort of get the same effect by hitting on the mouthpiece. But this can change pitch a little bit depending on what valves you put down, which is quite effective. And again, a cool technique that you can add. I said 5 techniques. I lied. Bonus technique of trumpet. Kazoo! Sorry, had to. So yeah, that's 5 techniques that I think you all should know about because they're cool. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this, consider subscribing, I guess. I might put more of these up soon, who knows. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.